No, just now we understand that it's a powerful communication that why we write letters, and we know that the tone of the language of the letters announcements are the other printed materials which should be responded in the tone of response, the formal and informal, and identify the audience and the purpose in order to determine the types of letters you will write, whether it may be formal letter or informal letter that you are writing, and letter writing mechanism that we have to look about the pointer. First, pronoun. The use of pronouns is most important for the writing letters, like I, she, it, we, they, you. And in letters, do not refer to yourself in the third person by using one or the writer. That means there is no representation of the third person like them and others. It is perfectly natural and appropriate to refer yourself as I and to read as you. That means there is no other mechanisms. Only just we have to go through with the pronoun of I and you. That is very appropriate for writing letter. And try to understand that is the second person, which is represented the word with you, is always acts as a singular as well as plural. And try to remind it as it can act. It is a pronoun that can act as a singular as well as plural. And the focus. Let's focus on specificity. Specificity means, especially, we will write letters with some more words or sentences which begins with focuses. And however, avoid choppy sentences. That means try to focus the whatever the matter you want to say, you want to express. That means you should, whether it may be not lengthy. That means lengthy writing. That means the choppies or avoid, try to avoid any place praising words or like formal way of wishing the people. It's all represent. It's not represented. We have to focus only directly the matter. We have to be focused on the direct matter, and that what we represent in later. And all the time we have to avoid the choppy sentences, and don't be conscious that your tone should be blunt. Tone should be blunt, and try to use a specific language that can be easily understood by the your recipient of the letter, and use the terminology and concept related to the industry or field may be appropriate in business writing. Use the appropriate terminology, the concept. Just like as we know that for suppose in our day-to-day life, we can see English language has a number of different terminologies and concepts that can be related to different subjects. For example, we can say that zoology has a different terminology of words, and botany has a different terminology of words, like economics and political science and history. They can also have a different terminology of words, and try to use the terminology which is appropriate for your business. Appropriate for your business, that should be used. Avoid the vagueness, and don't try to write in a lengthy manner to expand your letters to 1 or 2 pages or 3 pages. That should be very simple and very clear manner, and easy to understand. The focus of the information, the letter, the main idea of the letter has to be just you have to focus the reality whatever you want. And about the vagueness, be specific in your request and statements of the fact. Be specific. If we are not able to go through with the specific in our statements or the request, it should be some extent should be a dilemma. And next we will move on to the other actives and passives. It means normal way all the time we could represent, and that should be passive sentences should be represented in letter. No active sentences should be represented in letter writing format. It was discovered that the salary total were incorrect. The salary total were incorrect. That means it's in a positive sentence statement. Positive sentence should be always represented, and active versus passive should be there is a dilemma about all these things. And try to remember that. Try to focus on writing only passive sentences. Who discovered it? The problem. They were understood. The underpaid employee, the patrol, the specialist in the account department and intern and ASLD, try to be say it in a specific, devised an active sentence. The accounting department discovered that the salary total were incorrect. That means don't try to blame anyone else, but try to be revise the sentence. If it is if you are not able to get the proper salary, try to make the account department discovered that the total were incorrect. The next, when we move on the mechanism of letter writing, simply you should be a specific. You should be specific for your information or idea. And normally I already told you that there are two categories of letters. There are business letters and personal letters. For business letters, formal writing, and more formal in writing, and there may be share elements of just like essay writing. And personal letters, it's more often we can say that informal, may be addressed to a friend or family members or acquaintances, and familiars, and about a personal subject, and maybe regard personal problem or issue, and or even personal business matter pertaining to one personal finance or personal or legal matters should be said in personal letters. And types of letters, we can say that about the types of letters, there are some types of letters that will be apologizes and appreciations like thanks and for favor and kindnesses, and congratulations like complimenting a personal compliment, and invitations, and offering condolences, and offering sympathy, and remarking like get well soon. If someone is hospitalized, we are going to write a letter to get well soon. To get well soon, I am praying God to get well soon, like this, and showing some sympathy, like someone has lost his mother or father, whoever it may be. We have to offer him our condolences in a way of sympathy. These are the types of letters. And personal letters, whether they be typed or handwritten, main includes the personal touches, like the words reflects in style, the personality, and we can represent the date. It's a normal way, and specifically the stationery. Stationery means we can say that try to write the month at first, then date, the next. Then you can write years. And some extent, some maybe for personal letters, we can easily follow whatever you want. And for personal salutations, we may write a greeting, salutation, like dear, dear, and start writing with the I just. I is a pronoun. Just we had explained about the first person in the importance of the first person and second person in business in writing letters, and try to complimentary closing at the end of the letter that must be necessary for whatever the letter it may be. If do not follow the complimentary closing in writing letters, it can be a good thing. That means closing should be some extent it should be had some impact on the reader of the letter, and try to write the signature like best wishes and all that, and guidelines for liking apologizes, and write as soon as possible for the after the incident. But suppose if we are apologizing for our mistake, and we had met with an incident that should be apologized by our senior or our head of the institution or boss, and try to write a letter as soon as possible, and don't make any delay. And if you made any delay in writing a letter about the information, it should be not a good thing. Apologize, but do not overbroad by saying I am very 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 sorry. It's not me. That means how many times you can write very 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 very, how many times you want to say about the very 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 very. That means if you want to apologize, you can apologize it. But what it may be, If you think that it is a necessary thing that you should represent with only one single word, I am very sure that's enough. And if you represent with very, 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 it's just like a acting, just like a acting and making some of the fun about the reader's mind. So yeah, don't try to do that. Keep it simple and to the point. Keep it very simple. The matter has to be very simple and very clear. And don't try to write the difficult words in the letters. Don't try to write the difficult words while you are writing a letter. If the reader is not able to find the meaning, he is not able to find the meaning, and if he has to go through with the dictionary, and that means the listener or the reader cannot give you more importance for that. So try to understand, keep it more simple, and straight point has to be observed, shades to be denoted about the idea, and summarize what you are apologizing for your, and apologize only for the particular situations or problems. Be brief and summarize your idea and what you are explaining. Apologize cheerfully and sincerely. Apologize the words and sincerely, and don't not express feelings of guilt. That means we should not feel any guilt on the part of ourselves. So feeling guilt is also not even taking any importance of writing letter, and explain what you will do to correct your mistake situation. That means try to explain yourself whatever you want to do for the next step. In the next step, whatever you want to do, that should be represented, and you should be clear in your information. And do not put blame or other any person, and not to blame problems or computer errors or carelessness, whatever. Try to put your point, whatever you want to put the point, put that point straight and direct manner, and don't try to blame any person or anything or any situation or any carelessness of yours, carelessness of yours. The next simple complaint letter, just we have been seeing in this one. I am writing to inform you that your daughter Sarah broke the front passenger window of my Ford Taurus while playing the softball yesterday afternoon. The car is brand new. Hopefully your homeowners insurance will cover this kind of damage. Please check with them to see if it is covered. If they will not pay for it, I will get to repair estimates and estimate for you, so that you can determine how you will pay for the repairs. Perhaps we could meet this Saturday afternoon to discuss our options, and you can reach it me at. And thank you for your timely attention in this manner. So it's a simple complaint letter. And when we write a personal thank you, congratulations, or appreciation letters, try to write like this: to thank or show, gratitude for gifts, group efforts, introduction to other people, invitations to speak, and helpful advices or suggestions, personal favors, recommendations for positions, awards and references, sympathy, volunteers, and guardians, gradations. These are the some letters to write for personal. KLS for writing personal letter appreciations, and state what you appreciate and briefly explain why. State what you want to say, what is your appreciation. Try to explain briefly, and do not add others news or information not related to the appreciate gesture, and don't try to give any other informations, and don't try to bring any other persons in the matter. And if you want to say your appreciation, try to take your appreciation and go for it, and don't try to take any other information not related to the this gesture. Be brief and warm and sincere. Be brief and warm and sincere. And thank you for your character reference. If, for example, thank you for your character reference and you provided to Troy University on my behalf. I truly appreciate your willingness to provide the reference as well as your time and attention to completing it. Again, thank you and best wishes. Tina, applicant. Then postcard must be used for short notes, and the personal note should be handwritten. Writing an invitation and formal and informal events. Mr. and Mrs. what it may be, cordially invite you to reception of celebration engagement, identify the host and type of event, and identify the date and the time of the event. Just we have been seeing so many invitations are around our situation, whether it may be functions, ceremonies, or any inaugural sessions. So, so what it will be specific with identify the guest of honors, and specifically dress optional request to how many guests you have to be expected, and practice exercise and personal letters too. Write a thank letter to noted card and someone who has been recently helped you, and write a congratulatory letter note to someone who has recently achieved outstanding honor, and design an invitation to an event that will host you in the year. And try to go through with some of the practices of the letters. Business letters, just we have to be understand, and it's the most important thing. They are to be document created or to be business letters, and password or information readers. Letters to be candidate or requesting your vote. Unlike the concept of situation, letter from the human resource manager explaining the new payroll deposit system to the company employees. Purpose of solution and referring a plan to reduce the prevent school violence. Correct some of the perceived errors and miscommunications a letter to create created about the billing or your bill. The format of the business letters. And there are so many different kinds of the format acceptance letters, yes or no letters, or S letters or legal letters, and acknowledgement letters, less like receipts, and adjustment letters like legal documents and addressing complaints, and application letters to requesting job consideration for interview, and complaining a letter, a legal for document, covering letter to accompany the resume and order, inquiring letter, posing a question, order letter, request letter, and refusal letter for rejecting an offer, and response letter that answers for inquiry, sales letter for marketing. To write the type of business letters to follow these basic steps. Identify your reader and establish your objective, determine your scope and how much should be research for the information include, and organize your letter and draft your letter, close letter, and your letter should be reviewed or revised your letter, proofs to be physically, and physical problems are to be issues. Try to understand most probably the format of the letter, identify your reader, establish your objective, and much reassure the information clear include, and organize your letter in a proper way, draft your letter and close your letter, and try to review once or twice or thrice a letter. And the letter should be consist of the parts like heading, and heading should be interested, it has to be important. That is the sender's return and address of the day and then date. Sender's return, it has to be address and date should be included. And for the receivers, it's not interested to, it's not able to write the date. Inside the address, recipient address should be inside the address. And salutation starts with the greeting and body. That means paragraphs are must be said about the complementary clause. Complement clause are necessary for letter writing. Signature line, we have to left for the signature line, and with or without title, whether it may be your you can use your sincerely, he was obediently, he was affectionately used for the personal letters. CC notations, letter copies sent to others, senders, type list, and initials are the options. And general statements that should be used for business letter ratings. Business letters are required in many different situations for applying for a job, requesting or delivering information. Writing for a business should be crisp and sufficient. It should be to the point and specific and accurate. even though business writing letters is possibly less formal than it was once, and your writing must be adhere to the conventions and standards of American language and grammar rules. And try to look at the semi or modified or block styles of writing letters. Header should be on the, if you look about the semi block style, just look at the slide. We can go through with the slide. We can see that the head of the letter writing is on the top of the right hand, and next we can see that modified black style is also follows the same pattern. The head of the head has to be written on the top of the right hand, and the block style is written in the head of the left hand. The next, look at some of the letters which can be said that black style, and let me format should be very simple and simplified, and signature block is also aligned with the complementary clauses. Signature box is also aligned with some extent complementary clauses. Leave for your blank lines or to sign your name, and don't forget sign your name exactly what you type it. And title is optional and depend upon what is a rivalry, relevancy, and the degree of the formality you want to establish. And look about the second category, modified block of the style, is the format is also very simple, and the paragraphs are identified, and however these parts are be letter centered, and sender's address should be made here, and the date of the letter has to be written, and the complementary closing is there, and sender's signature and the title also there. And look at the third semi-block style of format letters samples. We can see that indent paragraph 5 specifies that everything else is flush in the left margin. Okay, then the business letters of salutation or greetings. A business letter text starts with a simple and professional greetings such as Mr. and Mrs. and late or whatever. Example, dear and dear, dear Mr. Smith, Smithsonian, and or you can say that dear Miss Cleopatra. The difference between the personal and business letters are greeting is to be a colon. Colon should be included for business letter, and a colon should be not included, and there should be a comma included for business letter. And body of the letter, a generally acceptable format, and the body of most business letters is black style and with no indentation or centering if any parts. And paragraphs should also be single spaced, and within the paragraph there are double spaced with the different paragraph. Business letter and content. Each paragraph should be in the business letter should be contain the different topic, and don't try to remain. Don't try to repeat the topic which you explained in the first letter in your second paragraph also. And first paragraph should be have one idea, and the second paragraph should also contain another idea about the business letters. And don't try to repeat it again and again. Okay, the first paragraph should be grab attention, and the second statement has to be about the reason of the letter, and the middle paragraph is in most letters should be support for your reason and go for it into detail, and the final paragraph has to be a professional etiquette, and it should be writers to thank and readers, and taking her is into the time to read a letter. Or you can go through with the suggestions. That means, or you can go through with what you want to do with this, your correspondent, what you want to do with your own ideas about the particular business. That has to be represented in the last letter. And closing the end of the business letters marks the biggest difference between the business and the personal letters. So ending of the business is usually sincerely, obediently, followed by the blank lines and the writer's signature, then the writer's typed name. If there is a writer's typed name, that whatever may be, signature is also must necessary for closing the business letters. And literative practice exercise response letters behaves as if you have just received the letter of appreciation. In the next slide, you must notify the person that you are to be, he or she did not get the job and that your company has sincerely filled the advertised position. Write a one paragraph letter to the applicant and see upcoming slides for a suggestion approach for the letter. And look at the letters, that means what we can say the sender's written address and writer letters. From this, I would like to conclude my session of writing letters.